Well, we're still figuring that out. I mean, again, you know, it goes back to the same question. You know, that there's the core reboot community is screaming out for a resolution to the current, but there's a much bigger, broader audience that we have to reach if we want to bring this property back and have it go to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films, to television, to web, to mobisodes. If we really want to bring this back, we have to reach a wider audience. And so, you know, we have to look at that. That's the balance that, you know, unfortunately, there's a business and there's the creative side, right? So on the business side, we need to figure out a way to make this property speak to a broader audience, and obviously not alienate our core fan base, which is why we did the deal with Zeros to Heroes to begin with, to be able to say, look, we want to help you, we want you to help us bring this property back. We want to go to you and figure out what you want. And ironically and surprisingly, you know, when we first did those first 5 pieces on the website, you know, there was a lot of clamoring and a lot of desire to see some of the themes in the series paid off. But ironically, once people sort of got comfortable with this idea that we're bringing ReBoot back, and we're not necessarily constrained to tie up every thread, then all of a sudden people's imaginations ran wild, and that's really what we're balancing.
Well, I would think that rather than just trying to resolve it, you know, that the way that season 4 ended could actually be like a whole new beginning.
It's a possibility.
The hunt, you know?
It is a possibility.
All right.
As well as others.
Is that, you know, you're rewarded for paying attention, and I just want to know that, you know, if there's going to be a new reboot, that, you know, there's some continuity, that, you know, it's not that you're not just going to just completely not pay attention to anything that happened before.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. Clearly, we wouldn't be standing here if we were not going to pay attention to anything that happened before. We wouldn't have a property. We wouldn't have this kind of support. So, of course. Yes.
Are you going to put it on box set DVD?
You knew you were going to get back to that question. Well, this is one of those boring answers that I had to put my business hat on. There's rights issues with the episodes, but more importantly, the reality is that right now, until we bring this property back and until we see it on the big screen in 3,500 screens around this country, until we do that, the demand for what we can do and the quality we wanted to release that box set in isn't there right now. I know it's hard to believe when you sit in this room. I get that. Believe me, you know, we're a public company, so trust me, if there was demand and money to be made, we would be doing it. First of all, we have to clean up the rights, because as I'm sure Gavin will attest, because of all the different parties, as Dan was talking about, that were involved in financing those last couple seasons, believe me, it's you know, this is the stuff nobody likes to talk about because we all want to look at the characters as real, but you know, there's money and...
I just wanted to interrupt for a second too, because one thing they don't know is that what happened was, in the making of ReBoot in the first season, Limelight goes bankrupt.
Right.
The company that's actually making ReBoot goes bankrupt, and everything stops. And honestly, what happens is that ABC wound up throwing in extra money just to keep the studio alive and everything going until Beast Wars shows up. But it almost actually stops right there too. Right. So that shows you how crazy everything is.
Well, and as Dan said, you know, there was a company that helped finance those last seasons. That was a DVD company. So you've got to, you've got to, in order to release a box set, you have to acquire the right. I know it's a drag, but it's unfortunately true. Yes.
Are there any plans in the future of your company to obtain the rights for another Transformers series?
Yeah, I'm sure that would be an easy property to get now. If you can figure that out, you've got a job.
I want it.
Yes.
How much of the old voice work for the older series do you make that?
How much of the old voice work? Well, some of them are no longer with us. You know, I think it depends. You know, I mean, again, we're talking 15 years ago, so you know, it's a good question. Obviously we haven't cast it yet, so I get calls. I'm sure Dan and Gavin would love to hear this. Actually, Brendan called me just the other day. It's amazing the love that people have for this series, whether it's artists, whether it's actors, whether it's animators. It's just, I'm not exaggerating when I say how humbling it is and what an obligation I feel to do this property justice. Yes?
First, just as you're brainstorming now, what ideas do you have to reach a broader audience? And what's the time frame for the film release, if you have any broad, kind of vague sense of a timeline?
Well, let's answer the easier one first. We would like to be, you know, we're probably looking at an 18-month production schedule. So, you know, we still have to write the script, we still got to come up, you know, I mean, it's still going to take a little bit of a while. So I would say probably, you know, 18 months to 2 years. And so your first question was, how do we...
Just the different ideas you're brainstorming right now to reach a broader audience.
Well, you know, the idea is, you know how it is when a property doesn't have... when people look at a property that they're not aware of, I gotta go, and they don't understand the characters, it's really hard to get into. Just like a television series that's not a standalone series. That's why television, Law and Order, things like that, it's, you know, you don't have to know anything to know what's going on. We have to figure out a way to bring people that have never heard of ReBoot or just barely know of ReBoot, that they feel they want to come to this party. If we have too many in-jokes and too many things that require pre-existing knowledge, we're going to alienate new viewers. We'll please the fan base, but we won't get the new viewers. And so we want to do both. All right, last one. I know you got cheated there.
Thank you. When you talk about modernizing like the characters' appearances and the designs, is that kind of what happened to Beast Wars too?
That's kind of Kenner. That was kind of Kenner.
Yeah, when it's you know, that's the beauty of it. We're not constrained to do anything to please a toy company. All we're looking to do is to please audience members.
What age you going for?
Good question. It's a really good. I think we need to age up the demographic in a lot of ways because, you know, you were all, you know, kids when you started watching the show, and it's amazing. And I'm sure Gavin and Dan can appreciate this. I can't tell you how many animators that we hire at our studio that are computer animators because of ReBoot. They grew up loving that. There you go. He's a poster child. So, you know, crewing up for this show, I think we have to hit a slightly older demographic.
I think you were forgetting how many parents watch ReBoot with their kids.
There you go.
I understand because it spoke at 2 levels. And that's the best kind of animated feature, because I can laugh at it at one level and my kids get it on a totally different level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jokes that made us die hard.
Absolutely. Thank you all very, very much.